Hey guys, this is going to be my first Honor of Kings World video on the channel, and this is after having played a bit over 1,500 arena PvP games on 160 ping on the Chinese server, where I managed to get GM in both 1v1 and 4v4, as well as managing to get top 10 Mulan on the whole server. And today I wanted to go over what you guys need to know if you're looking to start playing PvP in Honor of Kings World, as well as explain a few of the unique PvP mechanics, followed a bit by talking a little bit about my overall thoughts on the PvP, how it feels to play, the competitive potential of the PvP, the insanely good netcode, as well as a couple other things before going through some of the meta comps in 1v1 and 4v4. I won't be going super in depth on the actual combat, or I mean on like tips on neutral and that sort of thing, or any of the combos necessarily. But I do plan on making a separate video where I cover a few of those things over the next couple days. But for now, let's get started. First of all, to even access PvP, you're going to have to get your world level up to world level 2. And one of the things that you can do to check what you need to do to get your world level to level 2 is once you press escape at the very top right here, this icon will take you to this menu, and down here at the bottom you'll see it says 6 because this is my account on the Chinese server. I'm currently world level 6, but if you were to click here and you were still world level 1, at the very bottom it would show you the requirements that you need to meet before you can level up to world level 2. And once you meet those requirements, it will then basically send you off to go somewhere to fight a boss, and then once you beat the boss, you upgrade your world level. But once you've done that, you're good, and it will tell you you've unlocked PvP, and then on your escape menu it will give you this tile. On the alpha test, which it should be opening today when this video releases, it's not actually here for some reason. It's somewhere else in this menu, but you'll be able to see it. Yeah. So yeah, once you click it, it's going to take you to this window where you have all the different game modes. You have 1v1 and 4v4. This one at the top right here, this is ranked, this is normal. These are your custom rooms that you can make. There's no spectate function yet, unfortunately, but there is going to be one in future. Also, we hope. They said they're working on it. We'll see. Regardless, 1v1, 4v4. There is another 1v1 mode right here that you'll see. This is not gear balanced. This one didn't open initially on the launch in China. Opened a little bit later. It's not as popular, and not as many people play it as they play the other ones, that 1v1 and the 4v4. But it's there. And there is also going to be a bunch of other modes coming. We have basically had it confirmed that Battle Royale mode is going to be coming at some point, which should be very interesting, and then a MOBA mode, which isn't all that surprising considering that this game is based off of Honor of Kings, the mobile MOBA game in China, biggest game in China. So yeah, no surprise there. But for now, we've got 1v1, 4v4. And these two are gear balanced. Obviously, the normal modes are also gear balanced. And speaking of gear, we should probably touch on that straight away, since it is pretty important. Let me quickly get rid of my camera for now. One more thing that I wanted to mention that I forgot to mention while recording this is a banning system, a character banning system that exists in 1v1 ranked. At the moment, it doesn't exist in 4v4. I'm assuming that it will be added once there are more characters in the game. However, in 1v1 currently, once you reach Diamond, and from Diamond onwards, when you load into a 1v1 game, when you're picking your characters, there's a character banning phase before you pick your characters that allows each player to ban one character, which I think just on its own is a nice thing to have added to the game so early on. There are a lot of games out there that this just doesn't exist until much later on, and so I think it's definitely worth noting, because I think it shows really good forethought from the devs that they knew they were going to eventually need this, and to have it straight off the rip it's a really good sign. They are definitely thinking ahead, and I think it's a really good sign for anybody who's looking to take the PvP even remotely seriously. So here you go into this screen once you've clicked on one of these, and the gear actually, for some reason, is only for 1v1 at the moment. I think it's going to be for 4v4 eventually at some point too, but for now it's just for 1v1. But here you'll see the tabs, etc. And then once you click on this tab, which will I can't remember exactly what it says on the English version. But yeah, it's the second one here. And then you're going to be taken to the screen. We're going to have all the characters that you have, that you can play, that you have unlocked, right? These ones are locked for me. So obviously I can't select them and change anything. But here you have this screen where you can choose your gear, you can choose your talent stuff, which I'll touch on in a little bit. But let's talk about the gear to start things off. At the very beginning, when you first unlock PvP, you're going to have this gear set right here. And all of these are going to be locked. To unlock them, you just simply need to pay for each piece. Unfortunately, you have to buy each piece individually, but it also kind of makes sense. And I'll tell you why in a little bit. So each piece costs 600 of this currency, and you can earn this currency very easily by just playing PvP. You are capped on how much of it you can earn per week. The overall cap is 12,000 because you can earn 6,000 of this currency by playing ranked and 6,000 by playing normals per week. And then you can also get more of this currency by the season rewards by just simply playing. You can see that you get a lot of it through the season rewards. And again, it's not hard to get this currency. So with this currency, you can buy these, and each of these sets do different things. Each gear set has a two-piece bonus and a four-piece bonus. And you might be wondering, well, there's 5 pieces. Why is it a 4-piece? The reason is because you can each one of these. So this gives you 360 defense. This gives you 600 health. This gives you 60 attack, and this gives you 10% crit rate. And then these ones at the bottom. Sorry. These ones all give you, 10% crit. Each pair of boots will give 10 crit rate. Each pair of gloves gives 60 attack, etc. But the bottom ones, these little amulets, give you different bonuses depending on from which gear set it's from. So for this one, it gives you 5% all-round adeptness. This one gives you 11% skill damage power. This one increases your healing and shielding by 10%. This one gives you 10% crit rate. This one gives you 10% double strike rate. And this one gives you 540 flat HP. I'm not going to go through everything and their potential uses. I'm just telling you what it's all about. The next thing to touch on is this sort of wheel that you're going to see right here. If you open this up by clicking here, it's going to show you these different options that you can choose from. The first two that you have right here are ones that you have at the very beginning. The ones following this are unlocked, like you can't choose them. You can't select them until you unlock them, and you unlock them by ranking up, or I believe you can also unlock them all by getting your character. So if it's the same character that you want to use in PvP that you've been using in PvE, if you've got that character in PvE leveled up to the max, basically, it will automatically unlock these for you. So that's definitely good to know, but it doesn't take that long. I think you unlock all of them by the time you reach gold-ish. And now you might be wondering, how much do these change your character and how they feel to play? It does change it in some ways. Some of them change things more than others. But overall, the character still feels somewhat similar. It's just certain bonuses. Like this one, for example, will reduce the cooldown of your dual blades abilities, because Mulan has two stances. Basically, she has a dual blade stance and a greatsword stance. Every time you hit a light attack with the dual blades, it will reduce the cooldown of your dual blade skills by 0.5 seconds. This other one, is just a flat 10% bonus to all of your damage when you're in the greatsword stance. So, few different things. It's interesting, and I haven't explored all the characters and know all the different traits and the optimal traits for each one in PvP, as I've mainly stuck to playing Mulan, Kaiser, and or Blade of Defiance, if you like, and Primal Flow. These are the ones that I've typically played. Mainly these two, because on 160 ms, playing Primal Flow is pretty rough. It's and Kaiser and Mulan both have parry or blocks and a decent amount of super armor, so it allows me to mitigate some of that, some of the ping issues that I encounter. But I'll talk more about that a little bit later on. So those are your traits. So those are your, those sort of character-specific bonuses that you can choose from. The next thing to touch on is these. So if you played Where Winds Meet, it's like Serene Breeze, although it doesn't combo start. And as much as I want to start, going down a tangent about how a combo breaker, something that gets you out of a combo, should never start a combo because it's just absurd, I'm not going to. Um, Regardless, yeah, combo breaker, it'll get you out of a combo. And then this is a sort of block, a parry that you can choose, which will give you a special follow-up. This one will give you super armor, so full gold super armor for 3 seconds, as well as 50% damage reduction during it. This one's a sort of big AoE healing thing. This one gives you damage buff, but if you're playing 1v1s, you don't want to choose anything other than the combo break. Realistically, this is just your bread and butter. This is what you want to play, because it's one, it's got the lowest cooldown, and two, at a higher level, you're going to just it's going to be far more useful in so many different scenarios than these ones will be. Although they could potentially be useful in quite a few, niche situations, the combo breaker is going to be more useful more of the time. And considering that all of these other abilities are also longer cooldown, it just makes sense. One quick thing that I forgot to mention here that I think is definitely worth noting is that there is already a combo breaking mechanic integrated into the combat system without even needing this ability right here. And it happens when, like, once you're under stagger, when you're being comboed, a bar is going to appear above your character, and once it fills up, it will allow you to essentially dodge out of the combo. It allows you to disengage, uh, allowing you to escape without actually needing the combo break ability. This might sound like, oh, okay, well, you don't need the combo break ability now. The thing is, the fact that it does take time for it to fill up, so you are going to take a considerable amount of damage, potentially, enough damage to kill you, during the time that it takes for the bar to fill up. And then on top of that, when you do dodge out of the combo, you're not protected. You can get, theoretically, if your opponent is expecting you to do it, they can immediately catch you when you do it, or immediately after you do it, and put you straight back into a combo. So definitely something that I should have mentioned but forgot about. But regardless, there we go. Back to the video. That's for 1v1. In 4v4s, playing the different abilities can be more worthwhile. So because you have teammates to help you, and because you're not always in a 1v1 situation, like where a combo breaker will be useful more often than not, you can opt to run the super armor one, you can run the parry one, you can use the DPS one if you like, if you're playing one of the DPS characters. If your frontline is able to, if your teammates are able to keep them occupied and you can just sit in the back and blast them with 1,000,000,000 damage, then this could be useful, But generally still, combo breaker is your friend. Moving on. Next important thing that is definitely might confuse quite a few players straight away is that obviously in this game you have, or especially with the 1v1, in 4v4 it's actually just one character, by the way. In 4v4 you're just playing one character and you just have one health bar. Once it hits 0, you die. In 1v1 arena, and also in PvE as well, you can see here down at the bottom, I have 2 health bars, and I also have 2, weapon sets, or 2 characters, right? Each one of these characters has its own health pool. Now, the next thing is this little blue orb down here next to the health bars. This is like the bracer health, or I like to call it the core health. This is really important because this applies to PvP and 1v1. If your character health bar goes down to 0, right, you don't just instantly fall over and die. You will then start, if you continue to take damage, you will then start to take damage to this core. And as you can see, these little rings on the outside, these will slowly start to break, and the color will change from blue to yellow to red. I think once these are on the outside are broken, it turns red, and then this orb in the middle starts shrinking the more damage you take. Now, you can have one character with full health, literally full HP, but if your other character has no health and your core goes down to 0 and it breaks, no matter how much health your other character has, you will die, you will lose, and this applies to PvP. So it's really important to manage your two different health pools and also pay attention to whether or not your core is taking all that much damage. Like, if you have one character who's basically on no HP and your other character's relatively healthy, you want to be careful about swapping over to them, because you could potentially just get one shot instantaneously, even if your other character's full health. So next up, in this game, there is no baseline parry. So players who are coming from Where Winds Meet, for example, you have your baseline parry, you have dodging, etc., right? You have your whatever. In this game, in PvP, you don't have a baseline parry. Like, parries do exist. You can use the ability that allows you to parry, or certain characters have a parry in their kit. For example, Kaiser, Blade of Defiance, his R, right here, is a parry. There is no baseline parry, so it's much more about dodging and stamina management when it comes to PvP, which some of you might think, oh, it doesn't have as much depth, etc. Let me put that to rest. There is a lot of depth. In PvP, you can see here in the open world, I have a lot of stamina. I have a lot. I can dodge a lot. In 1v1 arena, you have 3 bars of stam, so you have 3 dodges. That's it. There are certain abilities, I think, that do refund a little bit of stamina, and you can look through all that in the traits menu, etc. But you have 3 bars of stam, so you have to be careful about when you use it. But another thing to do with dodging in this in the PvP, in the PvP, if you perfect dodge, so if you dodge an ability that is thrown out, so let's say I was fighting somebody and I threw out this attack. If they were to dodge this, they wouldn't just avoid it. I would be frozen, so I would be frozen in place, and it would give them the ability to counterattack and do a special attack, or you can swap into your other character and then do, combo, whatever. So perfect dodging an ability will grant you this freeze. If you perfect dodge a light attack on its own, you won't get, the freeze, but you will get a special sort of like attack. It varies from different characters. Some of the characters have a slightly better one, like Primal Flow, for example. His light attack dodge attack is a little bit better than some of the other ones. So yeah, that is something to keep in mind. Dodging an ability will give you the freeze and the punish straight up. If you just dodge a light attack, it won't necessarily do that. The next thing to note is that when you dodge an ability, if it's in close range within a certain radius, or within a certain range, they will get frozen, right? But if it's further away than that, or let's say you throw out this projectile, like this Kaiser Q, and they dodge it at long range, it won't freeze the Kaiser. Instead, what will happen is they'll send a projectile back at you, which, if it hits, it will knock you up and do a decent amount of damage, although it is dodgeable. So there's a little bit of leeway there. You can throw out projectiles at long range, have them be perfect dodged, but and you can dodge it back, but if you don't have the stamina to do it or whatever, But that's another important thing. The range is quite far though, so I think it's from about here to where I'm standing to this arch right here is the range of how far away if the person I was fighting was beyond that arch right there, I wouldn't get frozen. But within that range, you will get frozen. So definitely very important. The difference between dodging an ability and dodging just a normal light attack. Next thing to talk about is the fact that almost everything you do in this game can be animation cancelled by dodging or tab swapping, by swapping between your two weapon sets, characters, whatever you want to call them, which adds to the importance of stamina management in this game in PvP, because you can do a lot with the animation cancels. There are, like, you can animation cancel certain super armors, you can animation cancel certain things early enough that it shows the initial, animation, but because the active frame hasn't happened yet, it doesn't actually put it on cooldown. So, for example, with Primal Flow, you can do this with the hammer very effectively, the R ability on Primal Flow, by dodging, as you can see in the bottom right where my R button is. It's not actually going on cooldown because I'm cancelling the animation before it actually comes out. Obviously, if I do it slightly later, it will go on cooldown. This, I will say, is one of the reasons why Primal Flow is very strong, but it doesn't actually have the active frame until it goes on cooldown, meaning that it's sort of a bluff. One of the ways that you would deal with it, as long as you're not at a stamina deficit, you could just simply dodge backwards at the time. And be careful not to hit into it, because if you with an ability, because let's say you hit into it with an ability and they were just doing this, they would perfect dodge you and you'd get punished. You get frozen. So there's a lot of mind games, a lot of animation cancels, there's a lot of reactionary gameplay and strategy, as well as proactively trying to force your opponent into doing certain things. There's a lot. There's a considerable amount of depth when it comes to Honor of Kings World PvP. A considerable amount. I can't stress that enough. Another thing that's been done very, very well is the netcode. In this game, it's been done absurdly well. I was talking earlier about how I was able to get the GM in both 1v1 and 4v4. I got top 10 on Mulan on the whole Chinese server, playing at 160 ms. And obviously, once you do get the GM, you do start to feel the problems with having such a high ping threshold. But the fact that I was still able to get there is crazy. The fact that I was still able to play it at a very high level, a pretty fast pace on that high ping is insane. Another thing to add is the fact that ping doesn't, let's say you are low ping. If you're playing against somebody who has high ping, their high ping isn't going to affect you and what you can or cannot do. It only affects the person with high ping. And the thresholds at which ping becomes high ping and you start running into, you get rubber banded, you pulled back, you're not able to do certain super armor moves in between, in certain gaps that you should be able to. So for example, the hammer, one of the reasons why I don't like playing Primal Flow on 160 ms is that if somebody does something that isn't a true combo string, and there's a gap, and I should be able to use this hammer to get out of it, on high ping I wouldn't be able to, but on sub 100 ping it probably works. The threshold at which it starts becoming high ping is much higher in this game than it is in any other game that I've ever experienced. I don't think I've ever encountered netcode as good as this in any game, excluding obviously fighting game, like full on rollback netcode, but that's a different story. When it comes to a game like this, I don't think I've ever encountered as good netcode. So that is, it means a lot. For those of you who sort of understand what it means for the netcode to be this good, I hope that's, if you were on the fence about trying this, I hope that pushes you over the edge and makes you want to try this, because it really is very good. All right, next up, I said I would probably end off the video with me talking a little bit about the popular and meta character compositions that people in China have been using, and that you will likely see get played when the game releases and even in the alpha, etc. Unfortunately, because in the alpha we don't have every character available, or at least we didn't in the early access to the alpha. Who knows? I'm still coping. Anyway, I won't really talk too much about the characters that I'm not sure if we'll have or not. But in terms of what we will have access to for the alpha, uh, there are a few compositions that you can play that are very, very strong. In fact, I think the two strongest compositions that can be played, or two of the strongest compositions that can be played, are of character, or include characters that we will have access to for the alpha, and that is Sword of Stars and Kaiser. So you've got your Blade of Defiance, Kaiser, and then Sword of Stars. Both, like, is a very strong combo. Sword of Stars has a lot of air combo potential. You can start up combos very easily from a lot of different knockbacks, knockups, etc. Does a lot of damage, and I would say is probably the best PvP character in the game at the moment. Primal Flow, although it's not as good as Sword of Stars, it's slightly easier to learn, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't have a very high skill ceiling. Primal Flow is quite hard to master, although it's going to be slightly easier to pick up than Sword of Stars is. But you can also play Primal Flow, which is the base main character, by the way, is the base, flow that you get at the beginning of the game. You can play that with Kaiser as well. Those two comps probably, two of the best. So if you're interested in either of those, go for it. Another good composition, I'm trying to think because I also need to mentally exclude the characters that Alpha won't have access to. The Frost Lady, Frost Bloom, I think it is, can also be played with Kaiser quite effectively. You can play this with Primal Flow too. The Ice Lady, Frost Bloom, one of my least favorite characters to play against, I have to say, because it's just annoying. It has really good CC, it's ranged, it has shield, sustain, the ult charges very quickly. It's just an overall very good character that will support your main character, or just, they'll work hand in hand together. Kaiser is more of a defensive character in some senses, a character that is more about setting up your other character that you choose to play. That's usually his role when you pair him with Primal Flow and Sword of Stars, but he can be more of a sort of central focus within a team comp. Where is it? Garrow, the archer, can also be played with Kaiser. Kaiser can kind of be played with pretty much anything. So I can hear Maida telling me it's broken already. Anyway, you can play Garrow with Kaiser. You can play this with the Combo Breaker, which I would recommend. You can play the Super Armor. It's kind of a cheese strat, but it does work. On China, you'll see it all the way up to GM. Once you hit GM, you start seeing it a lot less, but it is definitely very strong. Another character I want to touch on, Lotus, is surprisingly quite good in PvP. You can pair this with Sword of Stars. You can pair this with Primal Flow. You can pair it with... I wouldn't pair it with the Ice character, to be honest. Probably not. I don't know. I mean, you could, if you want to. Be much more sort of ranged playstyle. But Lotus, one of the reasons why I think she's quite strong is that she has a lot of healing, right? And sustain is, of course, self-explanatory. It's useful in a 1v1 where you don't have heals that you can just heal yourself with. But one of the good things about her is that when you throw down these bubbles, you can just sort of allow them to sit there and then start your combo with another character. And during that combo, the bubbles will explode while you're also doing damage with the other character, essentially giving you an absurdly damaging combo because, they were just there waiting to pop. Does a lot. And then the healing, and then the AoE pulls, the setup, etc. It is quite strong. I wouldn't put it all the way up there at the top or anything like that, but generally pretty solid. Some of the characters that I would say are not very good in 1v1 are the Rocket Dude, Meng Ya, not the best. Is very good in 4v4, pretty mid in 1v1. Sun Bin, also in a similar position, pretty solid in 4v4, very mid in 1v1. Luban, okay, so Luban's a special case because he's actually been buffed every patch since the Chinese release and has now started creeping into 1v1s and started, you know, doing a lot better. So, I don't know. We don't have access to him for the alpha, maybe, maybe not, but I thought that would be worth mentioning. He is very strong in 4v4, though. 1v1, he's starting to creep in. I will likely do an actual tier list video, or I mean, once I find out tomorrow what characters we're going to have, I might make it just a straight up tier list video for the alpha itself, and then moving forwards later down the line, depending on when things are getting released, when we're getting access, blah blah blah, I'll probably do tier lists, because I will, once the alpha ends, continue playing on the Chinese server, because I'm low-key addicted to this game. It's so much fun. But yeah, we'll see. I mentioned earlier how I'm going to be doing a more in-depth breakdown on combat and how things work in a more sort of specific, you know, in-depth explanation video, along with combos, you know, what you can do with certain characters and certain character combinations as well, because it changes what you can do. So I will be trying to get that video out soon, definitely during the alpha, probably over the next few days. We'll see. Be on the lookout for that. But I know this is probably gonna... Oh my god, this video. I've been recording for 47 minutes. Oh my god. I'm gonna have to edit this down to try and make this not ridiculously long. But anyway. I hope everything that everything I went through was helpful. And if you have any questions, let me know down below in the comments. Or you can come check out the stream. I'm gonna be streaming this game almost every day during the alpha. I typically stream on a daily basis as well. Come by the stream, the link is in the description. You can come and ask me anything that you want in the chat, and I'll be sure to answer and try and help you out. But anyway, that's going to wrap things up for the day. Hope you all have an amazing day, morning, night, wherever you are in the world. I hope you'll take care, and I'll see you all next time.